How do you create a space that's inclusive of trans people? Let's talk about some of the issues that trans people face and what we can do to make sure that where we work is welcoming. So let's make sure we all know what we're talking about when we say the word transgender.
Everyone has a gender identity. Often, people who are assigned female at birth have a female gender identity, while those assigned male at birth have a male gender identity. But that's not always true. For trans people, this can be reversed, while for some, they feel they are a combination of both male and female genders, or a gender outside of that altogether.
You can't tell someone's gender identity just by looking at them. You don't know someone's gender identity until they tell you.
You may have heard some of these other words. All of these fall under the trans umbrella. Gender is different than sexual orientation. A transgender person can be gay, bi, straight, or something in between.
The culture of a space sets the tone for someone's experience. It influences whether they feel welcome or safe. Because the norm in our society is to ignore, degrade, or exclude transgender people, it's necessary to be proactive in creating a culture that is inclusive and affirming. What you say, how you say it, and what services or support you provide, I'll go into that.
To be respectful to transgender individuals, use the name and pronoun that the person prefers. Don't assume that you can tell what pronoun someone prefers just by their appearance. If you're not sure, consider politely asking, what pronoun do you go by? Or what name do you prefer? You should always use the preferred name and pronoun, even if you are referring to this person when they are not around. This is true even if you are an employer or a healthcare provider who might have access to documents with a different legal name for the individual.
I definitely prefer feminine pronouns.
I prefer they and he pronouns.
I prefer he, his, and him pronouns.
I prefer female pronouns.
Confidentiality is important, whether you're a supervisor, coworker, healthcare provider, or anyone else working with a transgender individual. Outing an individual is always inappropriate, and in some professions, it could be illegal. You should never disclose someone's transgender identity without that person's permission. Breaking confidentiality is not only inconsiderate, but it could expose someone to discrimination and violence.
If your study involves an intake form or application, have you paid attention to how you ask about gender? To be inclusive of different gender identities, it is recommended that an intake form asks, what is your current gender identity? What sex were you assigned at birth? What is your preferred name and pronoun? The traditional male-female checkbox can make transgender people feel invisible, but asking both a gender and a sex question and offering many choices is validating of various gender identities.
For some trans folks, choosing a bathroom can be stressful for fear of judgment, harassment, or even violence. Having safe accommodations for transgender people can be done in a number of ways. Designating one bathroom as gender neutral is a good option, but making the male and female bathrooms a safe space for trans people is also important. People should be allowed to use the bathroom of the gender in which they identify. Bathrooms with signs that say female identified and male identified are inclusive of transgender identity.
Make sure that your organization or company includes policies against gender identity discrimination. Even when you have good policies on paper, it's still important to train all your staff. Cultural competency trainings for working with transgender people are an effective way of creating a respectful environment and going beyond simply just relying on written policies. All staff, from receptionists to managers to security guards, should be included in these trainings. We know that having a workplace with staff that are diverse in many ways helps to create an environment of inclusion and acceptance. Hiring transgender staff is a way to demonstrate commitment to equality and to the community. With more transgender people on staff, you create a welcoming environment that models a safe and respectful workplace and helps individuals achieve professional success. Some of today's top companies value innovation as their #1 value. If everyone in your company thinks the same, then innovation is impossible. That is why it is important to bring people in from all walks of life so that your company can be just as competitive. For more information on creating a trans-inclusive space, visit